paranormal experiences don't really work to a timescale, and therefore we invite you to listen to a dark minisode. Hello everyone and welcome back to our listener dark minisode. On these Wednesday minisodes, you will only ever hear our listeners' submissions. And despite the positive feedback regarding Dark Realms, which now comes out on a Monday for you guys, our bread and butter, so to speak, has always and will always be your true paranormal experiences. And on that point, don't forget, if you have your own true paranormal experience, regardless of length, that you'd like to share with the show, email us at contact@thedarkparanormal.com. As ever, our Patreons receive this episode on Monday ad-free, and you can do so yourself by heading to patreon.com/thedarkparanormal. And currently, Patreon are allowing you to buy subscriptions to Patreon for other people. And that's not just for this show, of course, it's for any show. So if only there was a day coming up where you could give gifts to each other, and you were looking for something a bit quirkier than the usual gift to give to that someone in your life who likes the quirkier side of life. But those days evade me, and when they are, my jokes are as good as my acting, which is both terrible. But if you do need a last-minute stocking filler, I would suggest checking out patreon.com/thedarkparanormal. Today's minisode is not going to be Christmas themed, because we don't do things normally around here, so I'm sorry if you expected one of those. Instead, we're off to the cornfields of Indiana, and our submission begins. Hello. I wanted to add my story to the Dark Paranormal. I've had experiences since I was a young child. Some of them may seem far-fetched, but they're all true. I want to remain anonymous, so names will be changed. And I'm also not the greatest storyteller, so I do apologise if my writing seems a bit disjointed. I'm from rural central Indiana. Cornfields for miles and miles. Now, I will say, my home life was a mess. My mother was in and out of bad relationships and mentally ill, so we moved constantly. However, I firmly believed the heightened emotions of the mentally ill can contribute to poltergeist activity. For example, whenever she was angry enough, lights would blow out if she touched the switches. The first event I can truly remember is from maybe when I was 5 years old. We lived in these apartments that had been converted from an old nursing home. At night, an old lady would come and tuck me into bed. I can't remember all the details, only slightly what she looked like, that she felt kind and she would tuck me in at night. I remember that, and I remember I wasn't afraid of her. The next time I remember having any experiences, I was in around 4th grade, and it started with a scratching on the walls, then a tapping, and it would follow me round the trailer we lived in at the time. It didn't matter where I went, but at night when I was alone, the tapping would start, and on it would go, terrorizing me until I couldn't keep my eyes open. After that, there was a time at my dad's house when I was in about 5th grade that my brother and I heard growling and saw yellow eyes in the dark. We were both terrified and had no idea what that was. We screamed for our dad, who ran in and turned the lights on, and there was nothing there. The tapping I mentioned earlier was still following me, but it felt normal at this point. It followed me from place to place for years. Then came middle school, when my friend and I made and used a homemade Ouija board. We didn't put the word goodbye on our homemade Ouija board, so after we used it, well, let's just say things got weird for the rest of the time we lived in the trailer. Starting with using the Ouija board, we didn't get any clear words or phrases, but we started to ask for signs that someone was there. We got knocks, always in threes. Then a phone that was connected to nothing rang. It was one of those old plastic rotary phones that was not connected to a wall plug. And it rang. We answered it, and expecting silence, given there was no power going to it, we were surprised to hear static. After that, we threw the board away, without saying goodbye, since we didn't add goodbye to the board in the first place. And things kept being weird after that. The tapping sound turned to scratching sounds. I started seeing shadow figures in the bedroom doorway. And this porcelain doll started smiling when no one else was around. I genuinely thought I was losing my mind. Until my same friend came over one night and saw this same doll smile and its head turn to the side. It was a pure nightmare when I was home alone. I began waking up, scratches all over my hips and thighs. Thin scratches that made weird shapes. I felt constantly terrorized. I had horrible nightmares where I would wake up and a dead girl with scratches all over her face was stood next to my bed. And I would keep waking up in my dream to her, like being trapped in a loop of a waking dream, and I couldn't escape her. I had this bed that would squeak if you even slightly adjusted yourself, and I could feel and hear something crawling into bed with me at night. Just the lightest of squeaks as I felt the mattress drop, and I'd feel something crawl up on top of me and just lay on me. I would not have even been asleep yet either, so this was not sleep paralysis. It went on like this until we moved from that place, although the scratching and the tapping sounds followed. However, the menacing stopped. Most of our stuff was in storage because we lost that trailer and we were homeless for about a year. Finally, we moved into an apartment with a closet. A closet that was terrifying. I was about 16 at this point, and I was convinced there was something evil in that closet. I would wake up with the door to it randomly open after knowing I'd definitely closed it. And I'd have the worst, most realistic nightmares in that room. One night I even had a nightmare I'd hollered at my mum that there was something in the closet and she should come and check it out. She walked into the closet to check it out, to prove there was nothing there, and a fire lit. In my dream, it was horrifying. I could smell her burning flesh, watch her melting. The next day, I cried to her about my dream, and she nailed up a metal cross in the closet, said a few prayers from the Bible. That seemed more peaceful at first, but then it got worse again. I'd put a chair in it so I could reach to the top of the shelf, and I would just leave the chair in there so I could reach it when I needed to. My mum, being mentally ill, had a therapist that would come to the house. She was talking to him about me when I was home one day. Specifically, my fear of that closet. Then the therapist started trying to talk to me about it. I agreed, and we suddenly hear a loud bang come from my room. We go look because it sounded like something big had fallen. In the basic part of the room, we see nothing out of place. I tell them to look in the closet. The metal cross is on the floor, bent in half. And the chair I kept in the closet to reach the top shelf was flipped upside down and tossed to the back of the closet. And this was a deep closet, like 6 feet deep. It couldn't have fallen that way. One of the other weird things that started to happen whilst we lived there is I would hear the pitter-patter of cats or small dogs walking around. But we had no pets. Every now and again I would see a cat too, and we had no cats. Eventually we moved out of there, and again there was a pause in activity for many years, until I was about an adult and moved into a trailer with my then boyfriend, now ex, and the friend from the original Ouija board story we used. We moved into the trailer not far from where we did that Ouija board. This trailer just had a dark feeling to it. The ex's parent essentially used it as a drug house. But the whole place just had bad energy. You would just get a feeling of oppression. One night, and we were about between 18 and 20, and broke, we were on a mattress on the floor. I woke up because I noticed I was moving. I was moving towards the closet. I was being dragged from my bed to the closet. When I woke up, it felt like something let go of my ankle. I stared around, and I looked down, and there was a red handprint. But there was nothing here to have had hold of my ankle. When I was telling my friend about it, she pointed out the closet is exactly adjacent to where the old trailer that we did the Ouija board in was. After we moved out of there, I didn't really have any major experiences for a few years. But they certainly returned. Let's take a quick break in proceedings to talk to you about the holiday season and the M word. Not mistletoe, money. Because food, decorations, presents, they don't come for free, and at this time of year, everyone knows to the last digit what is in their bank account. Well, I know I do anyway, and when I get my statement in January, I look and think I didn't need to go out then, I didn't need to buy that, I didn't need to buy as many of those. And I kick myself and say next year you'll do something better with your money. And that was me rinse and repeat until last year when I actually did. Now, you'll have heard me talk about acorns before, and there's a reason for it, because acorns make it easy to start automatically saving and investing for you, your kids, your retirement, even during the holidays. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you. And you don't need a ton of time. You can create your Acorns account and start automatically investing your money in just 5 minutes. And you don't need to be rich. Acorns let you get started with the spare money you've got right now. That could be $5 a day or just even your spare change. That's right, Acorns can round every purchase you make up to $1 and automatically invest that spare change for you. So if you buy a coffee on the way to work, that's investing. And you can get bonus investments just for buying the stuff you need from the brands you love. The change I said I made last year, well, I looked at all the excess I would have spent and I invested it. And believe me, guys, that's why Acorns are so important. And I'll be doing the same this year, because when you look at your statement in January and you see you've invested money instead of wasting it, it's a great feeling. So head over to acorns.com/dark-paranormal or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. Paid non-client endorsements. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investment involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/dark-paranormal. The next time I was cleaning a school that was haunted. It was a local college. I would show up at 9:30 p.m. and the building would be empty. However, one night, I came in and I saw a tall man in the library through the glass. I heard him talking. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but I could hear him. However, I was supposed to be alone. This was during COVID. So we were required to tape the doors after we'd cleaned them to prove that we'd cleaned it and ensured no one else had been in after we sanitized everything. I got a hold of my co-workers and said this is weird, the tape isn't broken. No one should have been in that library. We stopped the student officers who patrolled the building to ensure everyone left for the day before we got there, and they straight up said that that was one of the ghosts and to just put your headphones in and ignore it. We'd regularly hear stomping on the ceiling, but no one would be on the roof. We even decided one night to go and check for ourselves, and yes, no one was up there. One night, my co-workers were cleaning the floor and FaceTiming each other, and the one who was watching the other clean the floors through FaceTime watched as a shadow followed them through the hallways, stopping doorway to doorway. I was cleaning the toilets one night and saw something black in the chrome of the toilet. I turned around just in time to catch it run through me. It was cold and instantly drained me of my energy. This happened just one more time in that bathroom, but worse. It was a black cloud that filled the whole mirror I was cleaning, and I instantly got a nosebleed. After, we done one of the stupidest things we could do in this situation. We, of course, did a Ouija board. The board only said one thing repeatedly, which was Zozo Mama, over and over again. At this point, being older, I decided to bring sage with me and burn it whilst we were doing the Ouija board. But it wouldn't burn. It was like as soon as it would start smoking, something would blow it completely out. The three of us started to feel drained, like something was taking all of our energy. We went outside and the sage lit up out of nowhere, burning like crazy, and we all began to feel better. After this, handprints started appearing in places we'd already cleaned in an empty building. Small handprints that could not have been any of ours. One night I was on my own and I heard a small child laughing. Then, another night, the police showed up because a silent alarm had went off. We allowed them in and found the keys to the area that went off, and it was the back room of a campus store, and it was completely destroyed. As they were leaving, one of the officers made a comment about a handprint appearing on a glass window. That wasn't there when they got there. They asked us about it, and we pointed out that the tape was in place, so no one could have entered that area and been able to put the tape back over the seal. I quit that job for unrelated reasons. The scary things were just the icing on the cake. I'd done the Ouija board one other time in my life after this, when I worked at a creepy motel with the worst of the local worst stay. The only thing it said was, "Kill, room 16." And I started seeing this black cloud floating into the room. And I decided I was done. I was not doing this. That I was too old for another haunting from playing with a Ouija board, and I ended the session. The person I was doing it with agreed because while the black cloud was creeping up behind them and they didn't see it, they were getting a bad feeling. After this, we did some research. Had been in that area in the 70s. I'd reveal which one, but that would reveal where I am, so I'll leave that out. But Kevin has a link to the article of the serial killer. This was my last major experience in my life, and it kind of feels like a relief to have them all out. If you don't put this on the show, that's fine. My storytelling is not the best, but I'd like to remind everyone, if you do, that Ouija boards are a choice to open a door to something, and you never know what's behind that door until it comes through. Thank you, Anonymous. No, thank you, Anonymous. that's a series of wonderful experiences there. And when I say wonderful, I mean that in the truest of terrifying senses. However, there is one overriding factor in each of these experiences, and you mention it well enough at the end, and little did I know, my parting words would be very careful if you get a Ouija board this Christmas. So until Friday, make sure you have a great one, and I will speak to you then. Take care.